We are going to begin this next session with Mr. Dwight deVera of RXTransparent. Thank you, Mr. deVera.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Dwight deVera. I'm the founder and CEO of RXTransparent. And to just very quickly describe who we are, we're a solution provider in the drug supply chain security space, which means we do not handle physical product, just the data. Now, in DSCSA, we do have a unique position in the last mile of healthcare because we specialize in only working with healthcare providers and dispensers. And it's primarily hospitals. Hundreds of hospitals are on the platform today. And we get to see millions of transactions flow through our systems out of the 4 billion on average annual drug transactions that occur in U.S. drug supply chain. As they pass from manufacturing commissioning through wholesale distribution, and then ultimately onto dispensers, or sometimes directly from manufacturers to healthcare providers. Now, within the drug supply chain, the National Drug Code, the NDC, is the glue that holds things together between the various trading partners in supply chain. And we use the NDC for validation between individual trading partners. Now, in drug supply chain and DSCSA, our mission is to provide the shield that protects patients from counterfeit and suspect drug product through a collaboration between FDA, the industry, and then guide rails set by the GS1 organization. And it's this collaboration that I wanted to focus on as it relates to the future evolution of the National Drug Code. Because we believe that if we all collaborate, we can identify points of innovation and realize more value from our efforts here today, besides accommodating for new labelers. Now, DSCSA, it's a stepwise 10-year endeavor, and it's one of the first truly industry-wide collaborations that now we can finally see some of the fruits of our efforts. Now, if you've not seen this before, this is the updated drug product label. Now, I've already apologized for Genentech because we pulled this off the pharmacy shelf and it just happened to be one of their labels. It's a good example of what the label is. You see the 2D data matrix barcode. It incorporates the serial number of the product, expiration date, manufacturing lot, and the SG10. Saleable Global Trade Identification Number. And through all of our collaborations, this will become the interoperable product identifier for all drug supply chain operations. The benefits of our collaboration is we'll be able to quickly pinpoint drug recalls, expire-less product, and through future aggregation and inference capabilities, we'll gain insight into the entire supply chain that we've never had before. Now, these innovations are only the opening act for us to deliver future value beyond simple compliance. And the SG10, what you're seeing here, will allow us interoperability amongst all the supply chain participants in healthcare. But there is a problem. Where we work, in healthcare, the SG10 is not the complete answer. In clinical practice, we use the NDC, the National Drug Code, at a unit of use level of detail. Remember, the SG10 is at a saleable unit level of detail. And when we get into the GS1 presentation, Peter can certainly talk about extending the G10 to a unit of use level of detail. But in clinical practice, we don't use a box of 4 vials. We use the 4 vials that come in the box. Now, also in clinical practice, one of the problems is we tend to call drugs via all kinds of different descriptors. Sometimes we use the generic name. Sometimes we use the brand name. And in many cases, the NDC is the only compact identifier where we can truly understand that the provider knows that this is the proper product for that individual patient. We are working closely with all of the national group purchasing organizations. And while we look at drug supply chain in the United States as having less than 3,000 total manufacturers and wholesalers, we have identified over 300,000 points of dispense, not including what you've heard from the chain pharmacies. So in addition to the changes in the cost related to making a change in the National Drug Code, we want to ask FDA to consider what it would take to train millions of healthcare providers about what we're doing now, what we're about to do in the transition, and where we are going. In healthcare, we use the NDC for ordering, receiving, stocking, billing, reimbursements, research, and dispensing to patients. And you've already heard that any changes to the NDC will be disruptive. They will be time-consuming. They will require multiple system changes. But what we don't have in healthcare beyond the supply chain is interoperability. And this is really one of the goals and one of the points I wanted to make in today's presentation. So we would like to ask FDA to consider interoperability from the manufacturer to the patient dose. Now, as part of the requirements for putting together how we do this today, you've heard some of the presentations today, like the compendium, First Data Bank, Wolters Kluwer. We've had to build systems similar to HDA Origin, which is really the entire National Library of Medicine in a single high-performing database with every NDC permutation on Earth. We're bringing in the entire orange book for therapeutic equivalents, the entire purple book for biosimilars, and because pharmacists love coloring books, the red book of drug classifications into our database. And this is how we are achieving interoperability. So when we looked at the various options, each of them had specific pros and cons, but our constituents couldn't get beyond the fact that we can only recommend option D, because everything else, in our opinion, is just a delaying maneuver or a Band-Aid solution that will not get us to our goal of true interoperability. And specifically, we would like to ask FDA that there should be a single standard length and format for NDCs with no variants, that all government agencies should utilize the same identifier and format for pharmaceuticals, that any changes occur on a date certain and ideally with a defined transition period, and that no changes should occur until well after DSCSA's implementation. We want to be a finisher in our mission for drug supply chain security before starting something new. Now, some statements which may be a little unpopular in this room. In addition to accounting for more labelers, we would like FDA to consider options for creating more value from our efforts by changing the National Drug Code. And some of these ideas include using guidance or providing recommendations through our efforts here to identify if this product is hazardous. We are getting new requirements in the pharmacy about provider safety as well as patient safety as it relates to the drug product. Additionally, we could use this opportunity to identify if the drug product is a controlled substance. And then we have a growing trend, especially in large healthcare environments, where we are moving to new practices of repackaging in unit dose. And so as part of these efforts, maybe FDA should consider really the unit dosing and the future of how medications are being delivered and dispensed today, and the innovations that we will have in sterile compounding in the future. Finally, we were asking if there is a possibility of possibly recycling some of these labeler codes of organizations that are no longer in market and no longer going concerns. So, in conclusion, I would like to thank this panel for being proactive and addressing a hard topic like this, changing the format of the NDC. Now, recently, an FDA official described our journey in the Drug Supply Chain Security Act as really a iron distance triathlon where we're at mile 62 of a 110-mile swim. And as this panel steps up to the starting line, we believe that we can bring, through broader industry partnership and in collaboration with GS1, real value that more than justifies the cost of changing the NDC. And I want to thank you for your time.